Today we're going to talk about affirmative action and ethnics in cinema. More specifically, we're going to discuss about what Jacobson wrote on his book. So first of all, why does Jacobson, or why is this film qualified as cinema of white grievance? Well, Jacobson, on his book, he writes very specific and I think kind of clear examples of how Rocky is portrayed as a victim against Creed, that was the Afro-American boxer. Both of them are boxers, but the thing here is that they have characteristics that kind of makes a huge difference for the public to understand. So, for example, the first one that it was very obvious is the power that Creed had and that Rocky didn't have. Rocky is portrayed as if he came from kind of a poor neighbor, and well, Creed was already known for a lot of people in the box world, and Rocky wasn't. So this is kind of like the unfair treats. Jacobson writes that Creed literally could choose who he wanted to fight against, and of course Rocky didn't have that like special treat. And another example is, well, the end. At the end of the first movie, they have a fight, and even though it seems obvious that Rocky should win, at the end the judges decide that Creed was the winner. So this is kind of another reflection of how privileged the Afro-American man was against the Italian-American man. In this case, Rocky and Creed. So these are like two examples that kind of shows this victimization of like poor Rocky that didn't have like the context or the influence, and that's why he lost unfair. And well, another thing is how this example of these movies kind of relate, or well, Jacobson relates them with the case that was going on at that time in the United States, that was Bake versus the University of California. Well, this case basically, Bake was he was trying to get into the California University to med school, and he didn't got the place, and instead an Afro-American student got the place. So he demanded that it was like not fair because he got better scores. So it was not fair that just because they needed to like accept a certain number of Afro-American people, then he didn't got his place. That's what he argued. And well, Jacobson relates this case a lot with the movie because he talks about not just this case specifically, but he talks about what was going on culturally in America. So a lot of people with these like changes, the Civil Rights Act and all that stuff, a lot of Americans, white Americans, thought that this had like the roles had changed, and now black people was getting privilege and the white ones were not. So this kind of victimization of, oh, I'm not getting this because of you, you're getting more advantage, or you're getting this privilege and I'm not. All these type of ideas were going on the society of America. And Jacobson talks about how in the movie it's kind of like it portrays that the white man, he was an Italian American, but he is like paying all the privilege that the black man had, that Creed had. So this is how he like contrasted, and I feel like even Jacobson is not giving like literally his point of view. I think he mostly just wants to like share his thoughts and kind of make people think of how this movie that was out at the same time that it was culturally going on, all this stuff and all these ideas of how Black people was now privileged, like how these two events kind of connect, even you could think it has nothing to do with it. He talks about how it's kind of an example, or like kind of showing what the white American people was kind of thinking. I feel like it is true. I feel like movies, like all things like popular culture, or like movies, songs, or stuff like that, it's always a reflection of what's going on in society, even in political stuff. Like movies and all the stuff always are a reflection of that. So I do think that these movies, both of the movies, kind of show what was going on at that time. Also, there was a part Jacobson talks about what happened on the second movie of Rocky, where he kind of like he's fighting for his masculinity. And I feel like that's something also that reflects what was going on in the United States about all the feminism movement and all that stuff, and all these ideas that women or men had specific roles, and that if you don't follow that role, then you're like failing as a man. I think that's also something that was going on. So I think these both movies really, yes, like in a way portrayed what's going on, even if it's in a cinematic way. And I feel like also this movie should, instead of giving like a justification or to the white American to keep feeling like the victim here, I feel like these movies should make conscious about how, like, making people to be more empathic of all the discrimination and all the unfair traits that Black people had before all these changes of civil rights and stuff like that, and kind of, oh, now we're kind of feeling what they were feeling. It was bad, so why to instead of like complain about it, trying to feel like more empathic, and even like open their eyes to see that it was not unfair, like they were not being discriminated or stuff like that. So I think that should be more the message. But yeah, so that's my reflections on the small paragraph that we read of the Jacobson book.